you are not experiencing your whole life. You're experiencing an edit, a very small, compressed edit. And there is something that is choosing those cuts. What is choosing those cuts? How does our brain decide what it's going to be taking in? What is doing the choosing? Something in you is listening to that entire room the whole time, sorting it, deciding what you got to know about. And whatever gets to that gate becomes for you your whole reality. So it's not your perspective on reality, it's reality because you've got no access to the rest of it. So the question isn't whether you're being filtered, you constantly are being filtered. The question is, what is setting the filter? Welcome to Emerge. I'm Fini, a breathwork teacher and somatic guide, and each week I share unfiltered conversations with people who've turned challenge into transformation. Come for the stories, stay for the wisdom, and leave with practices to support your own healing and growth. Okay, so this is a part 2 from the last solo episode. You are not seeing the world as it is. You are seeing it through your own filter. So just notice now, just taking a moment, feel the feeling of your feet on the ground, the sound, beneath the sound you're listening to, perhaps the temperature of the air on your hands, where your body can feel your clothes touching your skin. So all of that was there a second ago. All of those things were there a second ago, but your brain was essentially throwing that information away. So basically, there is a filter between you and reality, and it is not neutral, which is so crucial to know and so interesting. So your senses take in around 1 billion bits a second, and your conscious mind runs at about 10 bits a second. So that's 1 bit out of every 100 million. And this information is actually from a study, a 2024 study published in the journal Neuron. So they got there, and they got that information by analyzing decades of studies on ordinary things. So reading, writing, video games, things like that. And the lead researcher actually, funnily enough, didn't even believe her own results because she was like, wow, how can this be? And she went hunting through about a century of literature trying to disprove it. But this information held. And there is an older estimate that people quote that you might have heard already, maybe, that there's around 11 million bits coming in and roughly 40 to 50 million bits reaching awareness. So the estimates vary, but the general sense is the same. Essentially, there's a lot of bits, many, many bits that your senses are taking in, but your conscious mind is only receiving a fraction of that, essentially. So the message is this: you are not experiencing your whole life. You're experiencing an edit, a very small, compressed edit. And there is something that is choosing those cuts. What is choosing those cuts? How does our brain decide what it's going to be taking in? What is doing the choosing? Let me start with something that you're going to really recognize and be like, yeah, that makes so much sense. And you might have heard before. So, when you're thinking about buying a particular car, saying you want to buy, a Jeep or something, a green Jeep, and then you're suddenly seeing that green Jeep everywhere, but you didn't see it before that. And you're like, wow, there are loads more green Jeeps than there used to be. Or say you get pregnant, or you're looking to get pregnant, you're wanting to get pregnant, and maybe you're having some fertility issues. And suddenly every second woman on the street seems to be pregnant too, or seems to be pregnant. And you're like, why are all these pregnant people around? I swear there weren't so many pregnant women before. So this actually has a name, and it's called the frequency illusion. And sometimes it's actually literally called the red car theory, or green car. I use green car, but it's literally called the red car theory sometimes. So here's the bit that really matters. Of course, the number of green cars in this example didn't change. Not one extra car appeared on the road. Not one extra pregnant woman appeared. What changed is that your brain decided that it was important, and started letting that through the filter. So you just basically stopped, your brain just stopped deleting that information or like filtering it out. So, and a lot of that gating that the brain does happens through something called the reticular activating system. So you may or may not have heard of this. It's so interesting. And that is essentially a mesh of neurons in your brainstem. And it has two main jobs. So the first is that it is running your arousal. So it's running your wakefulness, your alertness, you're falling asleep, you're waking up. And the second thing that it does is that it gates. So information is passing through it. So much information is passing through it. And what it judges is basically irrelevant, gets held back. And then things that it judges as, or information that it judges important, gets waved through into your conscious awareness. So another example with the reticular activating system is thinking about being at a party. You'll probably know this one. There's a loud room, 20 different conversations happening at once. And a lot of it is just being filtered out as background noise, just like general blah noise. And you couldn't tell me what the people behind you are talking about. And then someone across the room says your name in a different conversation at the same level of volume, and you hear it. And it didn't get through because of volume, because it's the same volume as the conversation that you weren't hearing before. It got through because it was relevant to you, which means something in you was listening to that entire room the whole time, sorting it, deciding what you got to know about. And whatever gets through that gate becomes for you your whole reality. So it's not your perspective on reality, it's reality because you've got no access to the rest of it. So the question isn't whether you're being filtered, you constantly are being filtered. The question is, what is setting the filter? So the standard advice around this might be set an intention, write your goals, and you'll start noticing the opportunities. And there definitely is something in this, but it's not quite right, which is why so often it doesn't work. The filter isn't set by what you say you want. It's actually set by the state that you're in. So the gate only lets through what your system counts as important. So your reticular activating system in particular only lets through what it counts as important. So a nervous system that's registering threat counts threat as important. So that's what it's letting through. And that is very much its function. It's not a malfunction. It's doing its job perfectly with the information that it's been given. So if you're actually in danger, filtering hard for threat, it is what's going to keep you alive. The problem is that the setting doesn't reset on its own. So a body that has been braced for a very long time carries on filtering that way because nothing is told that the situation has changed. It's just still looking for threats, still looking for that same threat, most likely. If it was a threat with men at a young age, you'll be finding threats and issues with men over and over and over again. Whatever it was, that baseline it was set to, it will keep looking for. So on a kind of a smaller scale, someone who scans every conversation or every interaction for disappointment isn't being negative. Her filter is accurately tuned to a system that's braced. And you can't affirmation your way past it. I know that affirmations are so big in the wellness world. And don't get me wrong, I can do an affirmation. I love a Gabby Bernstein affirmation every now and then, but affirmations are conscious. So they're running on those 10 bits. The filter is set underneath that. So you can just say that affirmation by itself over and over again, but it's not really going to do anything. So you don't change what you notice by trying harder to notice different things. This is similar to the last solo episode. You change the state that's doing the noticing. So we're talking again about state. State before story. State is so important. So that means the breath. I'm going to bang on about the breath because primarily I am a breathwork facilitator. That was where I got into the whole well-being world. It's very, very important. But posture is also a thing. So shoulders back, chest proud, hands on your chest, this sort of physical contact with yourself like this. These are not things that are just nice. They actually help to input what the gate responds to at any speed. So, and one also very honest thing to say, you can't set your own filter. So the things that your filter is removing or considering not important, it's not announced as, oh, by the way, you missed this. You won't know. You can't see the filter. So this is a real argument for the practices. Always bring in your practices, your breath practices, your body-based practices, and let's do one now. So this is going to be more like a widening rather than a visualization. So let's just do this now. So just noticing your feet on the floor. You can close your eyes perhaps, or you can just rest your gaze on something that feels peaceful, like a plant or, I don't know, a nice rug or something. And just put your hand somewhere warm, might be on your lap, might be on your heart. And just start taking some long exhales. So still slow inhales, but even long exhales. Really beautiful, slow breaths, deep breaths. And focusing really on the breath. And perhaps not even just the breath, but the energy that comes in on the breath. The energy that you're feeling, you're bringing into your body on that breath, the quality. So getting really, really quiet and really clear on this experience of bringing the breath into your body and letting the breath leave your body. And now just noticing what you can hear that you weren't hearing just a minute ago when I was talking. So not perhaps the most obvious sound, but other sounds underneath it. So what can you feel where your body meets the chair? What can you feel on your clothes, your skin touching your clothes? Perhaps if your eyes are open, you might notice what the edges of your vision are, what's at the edge of your vision. And noticing what the temperature of your skin is like. And all of that was already there. And noticing perhaps what else is there. So this wasn't any kind of trick. Nothing new appeared. But in this exercise, you briefly stopped. So you can open your eyes if they're closed. This is the whole thing. You slowed down, you stopped, and you changed your state. And therefore, you noticed different things that were happening. So it's a very complex system. And there's so much more to explain, but this is just quite a simple explanation of it, a simple, quick episode on this, and also that practice. So it gives you a bit more information about actually what you are filtering out without even realizing it, and what you're filtering in without even realizing it, or what your body is doing, what your brain is doing. So perhaps asking yourself this question this week, rather than kind of what's wrong here, what's wrong in my life, the brain will volunteer that for free constantly, depending on what you've been through in your life. Generally, not always, but generally, the harder challenges you've had, the more likely it is that your filter will be set to notice the more challenge. But try this question. What's already good here that I haven't been letting in? What's already good here that I haven't been letting in? Like in any moment in your day. What's already good here that I haven't been letting in? Just do it once a day. until the next episode, just try it. What's already good here that I haven't been letting in? And just do it once a day and just notice in that moment, because let's face it, in that moment, you probably might be thinking of something that isn't so good. So you're just setting the filter in a slightly different way. And you can do that practice first by slowing down, slowing your breath down, noticing what's there, noticing what's under your feet, noticing how your clothes are touching your skin. What's already good here that I haven't been letting in? So yeah, what's been in the room this whole time that you haven't been letting through? Thanks so much. It's been a wonderful time talking to you, and yeah, looking forward to the next one.